We're talking wide receivers in the 53-man roster.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Welcome into another edition of Southwest Bias Live, brought to you by our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and we are live from Studio K, brought to you by Circle K. Remember to become a member of the Inner Circle by downloading that Circle K app today. We're talking wide receivers, the 53-man roster, and what the heck it means for the Arizona Cardinals offense this year. And I'm a little concerned because we've talked about it. Drew Petzing is the guy that we need to run an offense that's pass first. They need to get the receivers involved. We need to see a passing game that's vertical, that gets this offense going, that shows Kyler Murray's skill set. And right now, I'm not sure that we're going to get that. I feel like what happened yesterday when it came to the 53-man roster kind of hinted that we're going to see more of the same, that it's going to be a heavy run offense, that we're not going to see a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, that they're going to go 12 personnel. There's going to be a lot of tight end, 2 tight end actions. There's going to be different things that are going to happen with this team. And I don't know that it's going to fall in line with what everybody was hoping Drew Petzing would do with the offense, that they would change things. I mean, let's take a look. The 53-man roster, when it comes to wide receivers, they only kept 5. Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Zay Jones, Greg Dortch, Xavier Weaver. They've got 5 wide receivers on this final roster. Now, they did say that the roster may be a little fluid, that it could change over time, but 5 receivers screams to me that we're going to see a lot of the same when it comes to the offense. Now, part of it is because they have a great amount of faith in Trey McBride catching passes, right? That they feel that he will be an integral part of that passing game. That's fine. He was last year. I assume that they think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to take that big year 2 leap. But you're thin at this position now. And if you want to experiment with more and larger wide receiver sets, you don't really have the horses to do it now. I don't think this team can succeed if they are not playing a pass-happy offense. I think James Conner, Trey Benson, they're going to be big portions of this offense. But I was hoping we'd get a little bit more 60-40 balance, pass to run, right? That they would focus on that. And I really question if that's going to happen with the way that they built the roster. And I understand that Bam Knight will play some special teams, maybe return kicks as well. But I was surprised Simi Fehoko didn't make this roster after what he did in the preseason, the 2 touchdown passes he caught, the impact that he seemed to have, the good attitude that he seemed to have around the team. And I think part of it is, and we talked a little bit about this, I don't think any of these receivers fighting for a roster spot were done any help. And in fact, they were done a great disservice by having to play along with Clayton Tune out there when they're trying to battle for a spot on this roster. It is concerning to me. Now, maybe in week 1 against New Orleans, we see big plays, chunk plays to Marvin Harrison Jr. and to Trey McBride and to Michael Wilson, and even Zay Jones gets in on the fun, and we go, all right, it's not a concern. But I have my skepticism looking at the cuts that were made on the roster and the fact that you're only carrying 5 wide receivers. Now, I understand you can keep somebody on the practice squad, call them up for game days. But if you were truly bought in to wanting to change the way your pass game is and you wanted 6 receivers, you would have kept them as part of this roster. You would not be activating them off the practice squad every week. If you believed in Fogo, you would have him as a member of the roster, not the practice squad. I think that this is an indication that maybe this offense isn't going to change as much as we'd all like to see. And we're going to find out if that is to the benefit or the detriment of Drew Petzing and this Cardinals team pretty quick. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. A big shout out to the bias in the chat, Math to the Power of Joe, Schaff, Jonathan, Sag. I want to read Math to the Power of Joe. He says, JV and a lot of Loud fans seem to think their offense is absolutely terrible without more passing. They have an elite run offense that rivals Baltimore and a superstar tight end. I don't disagree, but I want more balance. I want to see more plays. If you believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a star, I want him to have that opportunity. I want an offense that's geared more towards what the NFL is played like now. I don't think they have a horrible offense without that, but I don't think they have the kind of offense that they're going to want to go along with this defense to go the places that we think they can, to win a division, to make the playoffs, to maybe make some noise in the NFC. I want to see them accomplish that. And I don't know that sticking with a run-heavy, not a lot of big play passing plays is how that happens. Now, Trey McBride's going to take a big leap this year, and that'll play part in it. But I'd still feel better if they kept 6 wide receivers on the roster. But we will find out. We welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, who I believe actually turned off the air conditioning in here today to make me sweat, or the sun he's in is just brighter than usual. How are you, Shane?
It is warm.
It is.
Maybe the haboob did something to the AC in this building.
I didn't know if it was because I literally ran in here 15 minutes before the show because of an appointment and had to get in here, and I was still just a little svelte from it. I was just schwitzing a little bit, but I don't think it is. So
yeah, it's warm.
Stop being so bright in that sun, Shane.
You can go into the water if you want, but I know you don't really like your suit.
No, I don't fit in that suit.
Oops,
my head's too. It doesn't even work in the new studio. Like, there we go. I gotta hold myself up on the chair here. It's not much better. It's humid in there too.
We'll fix that one.
Shane, how do you feel about the Cardinals cuts and what it means?
Run the damn ball, Espo.
Are you really a believer that
run the damn ball? I'm gonna be that guy at the barbecue in 40 years with my arm around my 8-year-old cousin saying, "You don't know what it was like when we used to run the damn ball."
You're going to be talking beast mode was on. It registered as like a earthquake.
No, it's nothing to do with that team. It's all about the philosophy of setting up the run. And I don't care how many receivers are on the roster. I don't care if you're in 13 personnel. It doesn't matter to me because you know what? You're going to find a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr. the football. And the more...
Are you, though? They didn't last year. Why do you believe that that's going to be the case?
Because I think a lot of that was on Marv. I don't think a lot of this was... Everyone wanted to blame this... And sure, some of the play calling was sketchy at best, but I don't think that the production overall was all on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think a lot of it had to do with him just settling into this NFL and settling into what it's going to look like for him to be a star. Because I think everyone thinks he's going to be a star, and rightfully so. You set up the run. It doesn't matter how many receivers you have on your roster. One of them is going to be open because of how much of a threat that is on the ground.
I understand, and in theory, this sounds good, but in practice last year, it wasn't. And Michael Wilson is no slouch, and they weren't getting him the ball. I know Trey McBride had a good season, but I need to know who Kyler Murray is this year. I need to see if this offense can actually compete in a way that the rest of the NFL does. And that's what concerns me the most is, can a run-heavy offense, the way that they play it, actually win in the NFL? I know Baltimore has done it, but that is such a different beast than it is here, right? And I don't know that the Cardinals can achieve that here. You've got the weapons. I want to see the offense to match the weapons.
Yeah, I still have confidence that they're going to find a way. This offense is not going to look the same as last year. Jonathan Gannon wouldn't let that happen. Like, there's a reason why certain people stayed on the roster and certain people stayed on the coaching staff. They didn't bring people back to be the same person they were last year. I can guarantee that.
I hope, but when you run it back, sometimes it's because you do want to look like what you looked like, that you don't want massive changes.
I don't think you need massive changes.
I'm not saying massive changes, but if you bring everybody back, if you run things back, it's usually because you want to look very similar to what you did. So Shaft says last season was a learning curve for MHJ, Kyler, and Drew. This year, the engine runs smoothly. Do you buy into that? Do you think it was just learning curve?
Look, let's say this offense is what everyone is doomsdaying about, and they think it's just going to be a run-heavy offense with a few shots here and there. Those few shots, when connected, will win you football games. Last year, they weren't able to do that. There were a couple games where we saw those flashes, but it doesn't really matter what route you're sending Marv on. If Marv is who we think he is, and you send him on a 9, he is beating that corner's ass and scoring a touchdown.
You can say that. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of something worse. There's a reason why guys like Marv are so sought after in the draft at the receiver position, because they can get open regardless. If it's a 9, if it's a curl, if it's a drag route, it doesn't matter. You just got to get on the ball. And again, I think some of that last year was sure the play calling and the style of offense, but also if he's running a route, he can get open himself. and I think we can see that a lot more this year.
I hope so.
If he is who we think he is.
I think he takes the big leap. But the only way he can take that leap is if they're passing him the ball. He can't do it without those opportunities. Can you scroll up? I want to read a comment from Matt to the Power of Joe here. He says, Ron Wolfley is very happy with the offense. He's been begging the Cardinals to do this for 30 years. My young crunk brothers, we got to put our hands in the dirt and go with a fullback and rush the ball. Now, I know Ron. I know that's what Ron wants. That's because Ron was a fullback. Of course, Ron wants to see them run the ball. Wolf is my guy, and I understand why he wants the knuckles bloodied and he wants smash mouth football. I just don't know if it works in today's NFL. Time to go scrolling. It's a look at what happened since the last time we talked to you. And guess what? We're talking about Alyssa Thomas again, because she's still doing great things. And yesterday was no different. She had 10 assists in the first half of yesterday's game, and then wound up with a triple-double. It was insane. She is made WNBA history as the only player to record at least 10 points, 15 assists, and 15 rebounds in a single game. Recorded her 7th triple-double of the season, the most in a single season in her career, bringing her total to 18. Achieved her 6th game with 15-plus assists, trailing only Courtney Vandersloot for the most all-time. Accounted for 16 of the team's 32 rebounds and 15 of their 28 assists. Had 12 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists, and 3 steals. She is amazing. And guess what? That 39% I told you about the other day is now 40%. She accounts for 40% of every triple-double ever achieved in WNBA history. And I think Satu Sabali, her teammate, said it best after the game yesterday when she said this.
I would tell them she's one of a kind. No one has been doing or has ever did anything like her, and she is the most valuable player in the whole league. Period.
Most valuable player in the league, period. That's it. That's what we're talking about.
You forgot the T. Period.
Period. Yeah. I mean, it's over. I don't think it's over. I actually think that they're going to have to be the 2nd seed in the WNBA. But she deserves at least the talk of her being part of it. So, yeah, get on that train, get on that hype train. By the way, Gerald Bourget wrote a great article over at gophnx.com. If you're not a diehard, become one right now because we're running a sale, $36, get you as part of the family. You get a free t-shirt. You're going to wind up being part of our Discord. You're going to get unbelievable content that you can't get if you're not a diehard. And Gerald has a piece up there right now about two minority owners of the Suns trying to force Matt Ishbia to buy their shares of the team. It's a fascinating read. I highly recommend you go check it out. Gerald, breaking news like nobody else in Suns world, and I cannot applaud him enough for that. So check him out. Coming up on the other side of the break, I'm going to talk with Dan Wolken, the college sports columnist for Yahoo Sports. We're talking Big 12, what the Sun Devils have to do to be back-to-back champions. And he talks about the worst kept secret in college football and what it has to do with Tucson. That's all right after this on Southwest Bias. Talking about our friends at Mountain America Credit Union, MACU. That's right. And you're going to get the MyStyle checking account. Make MyStyle your lifestyle with Mountain America. This checking account is unbelievable. I've been with plenty of banks. They all try to offer you perks, but usually let's just say it, they stink. The perks are not very good. But with Mountain America MyStyle credit or checking account, you're going to get restaurant deals. We all got to eat. You might as well get a deal on it. You're going to get mobile phone protection. I say it almost every day. How many of you dropped this thing and have shattered a screen? I've done it. It's a giant pain in the ass. But with mobile phone protection, it gets taken care of. Telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events. Make MyStyle your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/MyStyle to apply. Insured by NCUA. Membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration activation. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply like everything in life. And then let me tell you about our friends. Let me look here. I actually missed our here. It's Branded Bills. I should have known it was Branded Bills. It's a Wednesday, and it's always Branded Bills. You want the best custom headwear and apparel? They've got you covered. You got a business that needs hats or polos, whatever you need. They got you covered. We got our PHNX hat that's always sitting here on the desk. I'm always wearing a Branded Bills hat. They're the best in the business, and you got to trust me because I own over 70 hats, and most of them are becoming Branded Bills hats as I work through getting rid of all the old ones because I love these so much. You want ASU, you want U of A, you want GCU, you want Suns, you want Mercury. They've got Branded Bills hats for all those. And if you just want something simple with like a state logo like I'm wearing, they got that too. So check out brandedbills.com. Use the promo code BBPHNX for 15% off your order today. And I told you before the break that I'm going to catch up with Dan Wolken of Yahoo Sports.
Did you just reset for a second?
Yeah, I buffered. I apologize. I got a chance yesterday to talk with Dan Wolken of Yahoo Sports, the new college sports columnist over there. We talked everything Big 12 and college football, and this is our conversation. Really excited to welcome in Dan Wolken, the college sports columnist for Yahoo Sports, to talk a little college football and Big 12. How are you today, Dan?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Good. Congratulations first on the new job with Yahoo. I'm sure that's been exciting, but kind of a whirlwind over the last few days since it got announced.
Yeah, I mean it's a little new to me. It's been 13 years since I've the new guy at a place, so kind of doing all the stuff that you got to do when you take a new job has been interesting, but grateful for the experience and the opportunity, so very excited about it.
To start off, when you look at the landscape of college football, what's your overall thoughts on where we sit in this new world with NIL, and as we enter this new season? Has it changed the playing field in terms of the balance of power, and what's your overall read on it?
Well, I think we definitely saw last year that things were a little bit more even at the very top, that the depth that maybe some of the top schools had been able to accumulate in recruiting uh, just was thinned out a bit because of money. And it stands to reason, right? With the transfer portal, especially, uh, a recruit goes somewhere, they don't play immediately, or they don't have the experience they thought they were going to have, and they leave. And because these recruiting decisions are now largely made by money, and there is, in some ways, a limited pool of money that each school has to deal with, that the talent does get spread out a little bit more. So I do think you saw that to a certain extent, but at the same time, guess what happened at the end of the year? The most talented team won the national championship. And I think probably that's the way we're going to go through this system, whether it's 12, 16, whatever the playoff number is, when you've got to win that many playoff games to win a championship, the cream really will rise to the top. And the teams with the most depth are going to be in much better shape. But certainly within the top 10, I would say maybe the top teams aren't quite as strong. A little bit of that talent is filtered down, and you could definitely see a little more evenness among that group.
What do you make of the Big 12 this year? Obviously, last year was, I think, chaotic is a fair word to say with it. Expectations were uh, certainly not met for some teams. When you look at the Big 12 this year, what does the landscape look like?
Well, we've already got one game in the books, right? We saw Kansas State, who I had picked to win the league. And I think last year, a lot of people thought they were the best team in the league, and they didn't finish that way in terms of the record. We saw it kind of again. They lose another close game to Iowa State. Wasn't the prettiest game, a lot of mistakes, but then again, it's week one. You're playing in Ireland. There's a lot of different factors. I'm not putting too much stock into it, but the Big 12, I think, is carving out a reputation as a entertaining league, an exciting league, maybe a little parity. Arizona State last year was picked last and wins it. So, what do you expect? I don't really know. There are, I think, teams at the top of that league. Uh, Kansas State, Iowa, a few others who I think are going to be in the mix. Obviously, Arizona State, a lot of people would pick to win the league as well. But I do think, you get down to that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spot. Those teams aren't that far removed from maybe, 3, 4, 5 in the league. So I don't know that it's going to be quite as topsy turvy as it was last year. But I do think there's a lot of teams kind of bunched up in the middle there.
You bring up Arizona State. Obviously, they lose Cam Scattaboo, but Kenny Dillingham and Sam Levitt remain. How do you see the season playing out for them? You said you picked K State to win the conference, but where do you think ASU will be in the mix?
Well, certainly like Levitt and like Kenny D and a lot of the things that they've got going on over there. I do think it's hard to replicate something like what they did last year when they totally came out of nowhere. Now there's going to be a target on their back. Every week, teams are going to get up to play them. Uh, the element of surprise is gone. And so I do think that changes the dynamic a little bit. Um, I don't necessarily expect them to get back to the college football playoff, but I think they're building a really solid program around a coach who uh, understands what it takes to win in that job, understands the area, the high school players, all of that stuff, and who's got great energy. I think they're going to be a factor for a long time to come. I just don't know if it's realistic to expect another year quite like they had a year ago.
Do you buy into the Sam Levitt Heisman talk? It's been loud out here for obvious reasons, but from a national perspective, do you think it's a realistic possibility?
Well, I think the only way it would become realistic is if they're kind of in the top 10 all season long. If they get off to a good start and they're doing what they did last year and winning the Big 12, then yeah, like that's a conversation that will be had. Even then, I still think it's probably a long shot. One player wins the Heisman, right? You have to be the best player or you have to put up the best stats, have the best season. I think that's going to be very hard for him to do, but certainly if they are 7-1 or something like that, we can circle back in October and put him in that mix. But for right now, I could name probably a few others who I would expect to be more of a factor for the Heisman.
We'll head down the I-10. Arizona had success under Jed Fish. Obviously not the same success last year under Brett Brennan. Do you see that program kind of finding their legs in year 2 in the Big 12, or do you think it's going to be another rough ride for them?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, and I think one of the probably worst kept secrets in all of college sports is that Brent Brennan's in a lot of trouble, this year, for a variety of reasons, including the fact that, Desiree Reed-Francois, the athletic director at Arizona, probably would prefer to hire her own coach. She inherited Brent Brennan. Last year didn't go very well. That automatically puts him on the hot seat, I guess you could say. And so I think the pressure's on big time there to perform at a really high level, because there's going to be a lot at stake for him. And I think he'll have to have a good year to keep his job.
What do you think will be the biggest surprise in college football this season? Is there something that you're seeing on the horizon that may surprise us all?
Well, I'll go with Bill Belichick in North Carolina. I think they're going to go like 11-2 or something like that. I mean, I think there's a good chance they could be in the college football playoff. And I know a lot of people feel like maybe, he's lost his touch, or he's, been too distracted by all this stuff with Jordan Hudson, and, that he doesn't know what he got into in college. Like, all these different theories are out there. I just kind of default back to, let's just really simplify this. This guy is one of the great football coaches ever. And it's not like he's in the AFC East with this team. He's playing in the ACC. There's a lot of winnable games in the ACC if they're just coached well. And so if you believe Bill Belichick is going to coach that team well, and I do, then they're going to be in that 9-10 win range, I think. And that's my big surprise, because I seem to be the only one who thinks that.
It's going to be interesting to watch that Hulu series too and see everything behind the scenes. I'm sure the Hulu executives hope that you're 100% right on that pick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously to get an inside look will be interesting. I don't know how stage managed it's going to be. I'm sure there's going to be a lot that doesn't ever see the light of day that would be probably a lot more interesting than what they are going to put on film. But I just find the whole thing fascinating. It's an interesting experiment, and we're going to get to see it play out in real time.
He is Dan Wolken, the college sports columnist for Yahoo Sports. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, you got it. Thank you.
All right, Dan, really appreciate it. I don't know if I fully believe in Brett Brennan it being that much on the hot seat. He didn't have his guys last year. He came into a situation that I wouldn't wish on any coach. And yeah, they had a rough season. I think if they show even marginal improvement this year, like the program is moving in the right direction, then I don't think he's on as hot of a seat as others might. I think it just kind of got magnified because of what Kenny Dillingham did up here in Tucson. I'm not saying the guy's the greatest coach in the world, but I think if he proves that this team is responding to him, he probably gets another year on that, especially for an athletic department that's concerned about the money that they're spending. Firing a coach and having to pay another coach at the same time, I'm not sure that is on the table for them. That's another edition of Southwest Bias in the books. Big thanks to our guest, Dan Wolken. You can follow him at Dan Wolken and read his stuff on Yahoo Sports. A big thanks to the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach. You can follow him at Shane Dief. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And you can follow me at Espo. And remember, we got Graham Rossini on the ASU show, so tune in and check that out. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.